Welcome friends to another 40k video. Today we look at the Minotaur chapter of the Space Marines, who have always intrigued me. Are they tied to the High Lords of Terra? Friends, let's find out. This information is sourced from Imperial Armour Volume 10, the Badab War Part 2. The Minotaurs are thought to be linked to the High Lords of Terra by some within the Ordo Hereticus, one of the three major orders of the Inquisition. The history seems to have been deliberately obscured and sealed, and the High Lords would be in a position to do that. A further hint is even an Inquisitor would be hard-pressed to access that information. We are told there once existed a chapter named simply the Minotaurs, formed as part of the 21st founding, and they took part in the Macarian heresy, and perhaps the same chapter that fought in the Badab War. From these missions they acquired a reputation for both ferocity and anger. They moved swiftly to grip their enemies with almost berserker force. But the chapter never wanted to be part of a wider strategic plan. They would appear as an all-out assault without announcement, and they go away as quickly with their anger spent. Other chapters found them too unreliable to work with, and they even had an erratic gene seed tied to the Megos in Vigila, and this was linked with curses that affect other foundings in that. Suspicion was cast upon them, with their prickly nature not helping with this. Some records show the gene seed to be chimeric, i.e. from a questionable source. This is expanded upon in the book, hinting it could be from a prohibited source, mixed, adulterated or tampered with during its creation. These types of experiments are known to have been carried out by several scions of the 21st founding. This folly came from the Megos biologists and undid many such foundings. The Minotaur's fury and shunning of others, I think, can be tied into this, if they had mastered such a curse in some way. Later, we do not know. They later emerged in the Macarian heresy with a more considered and controlled manner, but with the same brutality. And around this time there were a fleet-based chapter of around 11 capital ships, which carried 10 companies. They would pin their enemies with a vanguard, use fast units to encircle them, and crush the enemy without mercy. But now they would fight more within the structure of the Imperium's forces, and still when called, respond quickly when asked to by the High Lords of Terra, even if the task given was to apprehend or destroy other Space Marine chapters. And we will come back to that later. The chapter seemingly only answers to two powers, the Master of Mankind and the Lords of Terra, who they are loyal to, and they carry little respect for others. One incident with other chapters is when a Minotaur captain deliberately provoked personal combat with the captain of the Genesis chapter by insulting Calgar, saying that they slavishly fawned on him. And so we can take away that they like to test the other Marines through conflict to see if they can deem them worthy brothers perhaps, or to simply prove their own prowess. One thing that differentiates the chapter is that when they fight, they do so as a whole. So they have strengths in this at siegecraft and bringing down monsters, using their weight of numbers to overwhelm their opponents. There is also fast advancement once you join the chapter, moving up through the ranks. Between neophyte scout and full chapter initiate, it is only a brief time when you measure it against other chapters. This is explained with the use of high levels of programmed psycho-indoctrination coupled with neurocerebral surgery by the chapter, and once deployed, this continues on the people receiving it to reinforce the chapter's teachings. Now, these techniques are not banned, but carry a high level of damaging the subject both physically and mentally, and so are rarely used by the other chapters. So now we come back to the Minotaurs fighting against other chapters. I'll give a short direct quote from the book to explain and cover this. The action from which the Minotaurs gained most infamy was during the Macarian heresy. It led to the near destruction of two Imperial Space Marine chapters, who had become locked in conflict. These chapters were the Doom Warriors and the Inceptors, formerly allies in the Macarian Crusade. They had come to blows over a matter of honour, and were embroiled in a long-running and highly protracted conflict, fought under predetermined rules of engagement in the Euxine system, with the two combatant chapters refusing calls to end their battle and aid with the pacification, the Minotaurs were dispatched to sunder the two apart and end the strife. Caring nothing for the causes or the rights of the two chapters, the Minotaurs attacked in full force, catching the combatants unprepared and decimating both chapters with their initial strike. Overmatched and broken, the Doom Warriors fled the system almost immediately in a barely organised retreat. However, with most of their warships either destroyed or captured in orbit, the Interceptors found themselves trapped before the Minotaur's wrath. Relentlessly and systematically, the honoured second founding chapter was encircled and slowly destroyed piece by piece until the last remaining Inceptor Space Marines were forced into a humiliating surrender. Fewer than 100 Inceptor battle brothers survived the incident, while the Marines stripped the fallen of many relics for their own armories and took the ravaged chapter flagship assault transport that has served the Inceptors since their founding as a spoil of war. So you can see there what the Minotaurs can do when engaging with other chapters. They're pretty brutal. And that's where I'm going to end today's video, friends. I hope you enjoyed it, and drop me a comment down below.